People in the Russian capital, Moscow, have been protesting against plans to build a new road near the site of a nuclear waste dump. The authorities say the construction work poses no risk to the local community, but residents say they do not believe the government has their best interests at heart, and they are determined to stop the project. DW's Emily Sherwin reports.
Dangerous levels of radiation. That's what nuclear physicist Andrei Azharovsky's radiation counter tells him every time here. Moscow's polymetals factory started dumping nuclear waste on this hill in the 1940s and 50s, when the area in the south of Moscow wasn't yet part of the city. So far, the radioactive material is contained under a layer of clay, but the activist insists that the planned highway could cut straight through the nuclear waste.
They might start digging up the soil and moving it around without taking into account that it's contaminated. It will be released into the atmosphere, and anyone who breathes that soil in will get radioactive nuclides into their lungs.
Azharovsky has been giving informal tours of the spot to journalists and locals. This sign warns of radioactive contamination, and these are the sorts of signs you might expect to find near a nuclear power plant, but they're right here in the city of Moscow. Local residents like Anna are worried about what could end up in the river and in their lungs.
If you know that this nuclear waste is here, but they aren't going to touch it, then it's not too worrying. But knowing that they're going to build a road here and all this waste could slip down the hill, that's really scary.
Anna says locals have always known about the nuclear waste in their neighborhood. The site is partially closed off, but the riverside nearby is popular with residents. A view from above shows just how urban the area is. The nuclear waste site is slotted between a park and Moscow's main river, the Moskva. Now the plan is to build a flyover parallel to the railway bridge here. Construction is slated to begin later this year. The city says the new road will ease traffic in Moscow, and they insist that construction is safe.
The soil will not be disturbed at all. A support for the flyover will be built here. Its foundations will be up to 5 meters below the surface. We've carried out studies of the soil at that depth, and there were no radiation measurements above the norm there. And the road won't touch the ground here.
But people in the area don't believe the authorities. They recently held a protest against the highway, which people here see as the latest sign their government just doesn't care about them. Signs here read Road of Death and warn of a second Chernobyl catastrophe. Anna lives in the high-rise apartments across from the planned construction. She grew up here and has been fighting the highway since March.
From my point of view, they're committing a crime against the residents who live here. I don't know whose interests are driving them, but they are in no way considering our interests.
The frustration here is palpable, but Anna and the other protesters want to keep fighting with petitions and protests to make sure their homes and their city stays safe.